Do you want to take a leap of faith or become an old man filled with regret, waiting to die alone? That's one of my favorite quotes from the movie Inception. It resonates deeply for me because if you were to run 100 simulations of my life, I think that in about 99 of them, I would have ended up on a pretty average standard track. The track that I was on. The only reason I'm sitting where I am today, the only reason I get to do things like this for a living is because I took a leap of faith. There are so many people out there who want to take that leap of faith, but don't know where to start. In today's video, I'm gonna walk you through my player's guide to taking the leap of faith in your life. 3 simple steps to get from where you are today to that dream future you've imagined for yourself. Let's dive right into it. Let's begin with a simple fact. The leap of faith that you want to take in life is so scary because of the size of the change. You're standing where you are, and the life you want is 100 feet off in the distance. In between you and that life is a vast expanse of nothingness down below. You can't imagine crossing that 100-foot gap with a single leap. It feels too intimidating. The 100-foot gap is the problem that we need to solve. We need to shrink that gap down to something much more manageable, something that you can simply step over. So that's how we're going to confront the problem. We're going to tackle it by thinking about how to shorten that gap from 100 feet to 5 feet. Here are my 3 concrete steps to shorten that gap and help you take the leap of faith that you want in life. Step 1. Gather information. One of the major reasons that the gap feels so large is because of an information asymmetry, meaning you have tons of information on where you stand, what the world looks like in your current position, but you have very little information on what the world looks like on the other side, in the world that you want to go and create. Gathering information helps you shrink that gap by closing the information asymmetry. In essence, you don't know what you don't know about the other side. You need to gather information to close that gap, to close that information asymmetry that manifests naturally as fear. A few questions you should definitely be asking as you gather information. What does the new path look like? We need to visualize it in detail to really understand what a path looks like on the other side of this leap. How reversible is it to actually take this leap? Once I take the leap of faith, would I ever be able to walk back or get back to the other side? As a minor note here, usually we assume that things are less reversible than they actually are. A lot of people are worried about taking the leap because they think they'll never be able to go back and get their prior job, the safe one that they currently have. That is usually complete BS. If you leave and go do something interesting, take that chance, take that risk, I would be willing to bet that your prior employer will take you back because you'll be a more interesting candidate with a more interesting set of experiences. If you don't burn any bridges in your choice to leave, you will be welcomed back in the vast majority of situations. What case studies exist on the successful or unsuccessful execution of this leap to the other side and of the execution of the path on the other side? What perspectives can you gather from people who have actually operated on the other side of this leap? Who can you lean on? Who can you learn from to actually gather new insights about what that side really looks like? Are there examples of people who have made the shift that you're talking about from where you are today to where you want to be on the other side? What can you learn from those people? If you ask those questions and gather information, you're going to close the information asymmetry, which is going to shrink that gap down from the 100 feet and start bringing it closer and closer to be more manageable. Action step 2, create evidence. The other asymmetry that exists here is an evidence asymmetry. You have tons of evidence about your ability to live and operate well on your current side, but no evidence of your ability to live on the other side. You have no idea how you're going to earn and make money, how you're going to provide for the people around you, how you're going to fulfill your responsibilities. You need to generate a little bit of evidence to prove to yourself that you can live and operate on the other side, to close that evidence asymmetry. What proof points can you develop of your ability to execute on the other side? Find one customer for your prospective new venture. Make $100 selling a product or service online. Generate a few client leads for your new practice or service. Whatever the example, whatever the evidence, these tiny wins build a momentum. They stack upon one another, build that confidence, reduce that evidence asymmetry, and further shrink the gap into something more and more manageable. If time is your concern in the context of evidence creation, try using my 30 for 30 approach. Do the thing for 30 minutes per day for 30 straight days. That's 900 minutes of accumulated, focused effort on that new thing during the course of a month. Anyone can find 30 minutes a day, especially if it's something you care about, something that you're striving towards to build that new life of yours. Do that for a month, and I guarantee you'll be able to create that little bit of evidence that starts to build that momentum in the right direction. And finally, step 3. Address the fear. If you've completed step 1 and 2, you're almost there. You've closed the information asymmetry, you've closed the evidence asymmetry, but you're still a little bit scared to take the actual leap. It may be a shorter gap now, but that fear still exists. It's reasonable. We all feel it. You need to confront it. Here's how to confront it. First, reframe the fear. Fear is a good thing. It means you actually care. Don't treat it as something negative. Don't treat it as a weakness in yourself. The fear means you care about the thing that you're pursuing. Next, deconstruct the downside of action. What's the worst thing that could happen? Actually break down and try to understand what could go wrong. What is going to be the downside of you taking action, of you taking the leap? Next, deconstruct the upside from action. What is the best thing that could happen? If everything goes according to plan, what does your life look like on the other side? Usually when we think about fear, we only look at the downsides and fail to think about the upsides. What if all goes according to plan? What if this is amazing? Make sure you actually look at and visualize what that path looks like. And finally, deconstruct the regret. Jeff Bezos talked about this when he decided to start Amazon, that he would regret when he was 80 years old not having taken that leap of faith to start that thing that he really wanted to start. You need to think about that same thing. How much would you regret not taking this action when you're 90 years old, when you're 80 years old? Look back on the decision of today and consider how much you would regret inaction in the moment. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca famously wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. A lot of these fears are simply imagined. We build them up in our minds to be much bigger than they really are. If you can deconstruct that fear, break it down into something really rational and logical, you'll be able to cut off its knees and operate more effectively. That doesn't mean that you'll definitively decide to take the leap of faith, but it does mean you'll be able to do it with clear eyes and a fresh, rational perspective. With those 3 steps, gather information, create evidence, and confront the fear, the 100-foot gap has become a 5-foot gap. Now you're ready. You're standing where you are, but you can see that dream life that you've imagined for yourself right in front of you. But no one can step over it for you. There's only one thing left to do. You dig your feet into the ground, close your eyes, hold your breath, and jump. There is so much talent out there trapped in their current role and their current job, waiting to take that leap of faith. I hope that this player's guide, these 3 steps that I've given you, help you to make that decision and ultimately to take the leap of faith to build the life that you want. If you like this, you're gonna love some of my other videos, which you can find here on the screen, which break down some of my routines and tactics that I've used to build a high-performing life. That's all for today. As always, stay curious, friends.